Welcome to the JCPS series on elementary school multi-tiered systems of support for behavior. The focus of this module is on how school-wide behavior teams prepare for and implement Tier 1 systems for behavior. The work of this team is important, not what the team is called. Some may refer to this team as their MTSS behavior team, some their PBIS team, and some their culture and climate team, but the work is the same. As you'll see here and in coming modules, MTSS teams are responsible for overseeing school-wide implementation. The strategies presented here are part of the school's Tier 1 system for behavior. The logic is teams assist the school in creating positive learning environments and support systems for all, and then they use a universal screener to see who might need additional assistance to be successful. This leads to reteaching and adaptation of supports, which in turn leads to more screening. This process is continuous. It is never complete. But as Tier 1 systems are better aligned to student need, fewer students will be identified as at risk. We'll be discussing the universal screener in the next module. At the elementary school level, effective school-wide implementation requires the MTSS team to oversee both the initial implementation of and then adaptations to Tier 1. This includes using data to rethink and reteach key behaviors, and then the continuous revision of agreed-upon routines and arrangements to better predict student success. All tiers have the same 4 steps: predict, prevent, consistency, and evaluation. At Tier 1, the MTSS team's focus is school-wide, and prediction starts with helping the school to determine when, where, and why student problems occur. At some point, we'll have a data system to help us continuously answer these questions. But as we get started, we can take advantage of people's lived experiences. One simple way the team can begin thinking about prediction is to consider the following prompts.
What if an observer was coming to our school tomorrow and she's only going to be here for 5 minutes and we're going to win $10,000 for every misbehavior she sees? Where would we have her stand and what time of day would we want her to come to win that $10,000? Only here 5 minutes.
Maybe
I would say probably fifth grade lunch.
5th grade lunch, yeah, that can be a little.
morning transitions when they're all coming to school.
Definitely in the primary hall when they do that morning restroom break.
Do you know 4th grade recess is also an issue?
That's what I was going to say, yeah,
yes.
4th grade.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Of course, this exercise is more comprehensive when conducted with all faculty and staff, but the school-wide behavior team can also use this to bring issues to the faculty for discussion. Another manner of assessing the predictability of misbehavior is the mapping activity. The behavior team lead can go before the full faculty and staff, providing all with 2 sticky dots. The direction is to write the name of the misbehavior on each dot, and the color doesn't matter. While MTSS team members are involved, they are also providing prompts to their peers and helping to facilitate the exercise. This is the information the school needs to move forward in the simplest possible manner. For example, knowing only that problems happen in the cafeteria is not particularly helpful because there is no context for what, when, who, or why. On the other hand, knowing that cafeteria problems are most likely during lunch involving 5th grade students who run and push, the team can create a much more precise intervention, saving time and effort while increasing the likelihood of success. One of the great benefits of this activity is that it involves everyone, which is a hallmark of effective MTSS. But the information goes back to the team for further discussion. In addition, in about a half an hour, the team can have agreement about the problems that need to be more proactively addressed. As the behavior lead takes notes, a written summary can be produced. This will be the data to which prevention strategies will be addressed. As we move into prevention, the team's first step is to determine the school's underlying anchor expectations, the behavioral expectations to which all rules will be tied. For example, if the 3 anchor expectations are respect yourself, respect others, and respect property, they could be defined and taught. Respect yourself can be defined as keeping yourself safe and learning. This covers things like being prepared, doing your work, and using equipment safely. Respect others can be defined as treating others the way you'd want to be treated. This covers all peer relations, bullying, and consideration of others. And respect property can be defined as treating others' property and public property in the way you'd want to be treated. This covers things like borrowing, stealing, and vandalism. Note that 3 big ideas can anchor every rule the team might create. If we were to ask, what should we do in the hallway to be respectful of others? There is a natural engagement about positive behavior, which creates effective instruction. Now, the team has 2 main tasks. The first of which is to help all understand why these school-wide anchor expectations are important for teaching school rules. The team must clarify that connecting all school rules to these anchors provides a context, helping students to understand and remember. The second task is to help teachers understand that these same anchor expectations should be used when introducing classroom rules. While teachers create their own classroom rules, tying them to the same anchors creates continuity and again, helps students to understand and remember the rules. But effective teaching involves more than simply stating the rules, and the team will need to discuss how routines, cues, and physical arrangements can be used to enhance success. Because the school-wide behavior team is representative of the school faculty, their charge is to develop procedures that will be both effective and realistic across the school. Once there is consensus as to whether each strategy is logical in terms of decreasing identified misbehaviors, the next step is to order the strategies from easiest, most practical to hardest, least practical. Watch this team engage in this discussion.
So to sum it up, there's a broad agreement that the cafeteria is problematic. And we know that it's very loud, there's a lot of messes, students are using poor manners, and this is all occurring at lunch.
So I think the rules that we developed are logical if we are able to teach them in conjunction with our school-wide expectations.
You know, I really like the idea of teaching manners and tying them back to respect for self and property.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, but we all know that our kids know manners. The problem is when they get around their friends, those manners go right out the window.
Yeah.
That's true, and that's why we developed another set of strategies. So we brainstormed these, and here's the list that we came up with. We said that we could increase the number of supervision, staff members that were
Definitely agree with that.
supervising, have teachers supervise students all the way into the cafeteria and then pick them up from their table. I don't remember really what this means.
Yeah, that one was mine. I thought that kids might think more about their behaviors if the teachers walk them into their table and then back out.
Okay.
But that really cuts into my lunch. If I walk them in and it takes 5 minutes and then I walk them out, and that'll take 5 minutes, that'll be 10 minutes out of my lunch.
Yeah, that's too much.
Okay, so for right now, let's just talk about what something means and whether we think it would work or not, if
Okay.
it's practical.
That's logical. I think we can do that.
I agree. I think it's logical.
Okay, so moving on, we also noted having a special table for those repeat offenders.
Wait, hold up. I just don't really see the logic here. We're trying to prevent problems, and this just seems more like a response.
That's true. I agree. That's not very logical. Not likely to really make a difference.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we did come up with 3 more. We said we could purchase a stoplight that turns red for no talking when it gets too loud in the cafeteria. We said have cafeteria workers provide more reminders and provide tickets for positive behavior. So let's just kind of think about logic for all of those.
Well, I really like the reminders. Seems like that would have an effect. I don't care for the stoplight. It's expensive, and I don't know that it will make a difference if the kids will even notice it.
I get that idea, and I think it's possible that it would work, but it's really expensive.
I mean, I think there's logic to most of them, but like the special table, I feel like the tickets are just going to be way too reactive.
But we're responding to positive behavior, and that's really different than responding to after the behavior.
How would we be able to give out that many tickets to the right kids? I mean, most of them are doing the right thing anyways.
That's true.
Well, what if we could provide tickets by classroom? Kids would work on behavior to help earn privileges for their entire class.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I like this idea. Kids will work harder when there's a little bit of peer pressure.
Okay, so it seems that we agree that reminders and tickets are logical, but the spotlight and the special table are not. So what about more supervision?
It's really logical. More supervision is always better.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we can add that to the list of logicals. So we have reminders, tickets, and increased supervision. Which of these is the simplest?
Without a doubt, giving reminders is the simplest and most practical.
Absolutely, if we can get the cafeteria workers to do it.
Yes, and convincing others to follow through with something is, we'd have to do that with any idea, so.
You know, I would say that I think the tickets are probably doable, but it's not as easy as those reminders.
Yeah, and I still think that more supervision is always better. But I also know that messing with staff schedules is always a nightmare.
Maybe that one goes last on the list. We start with reminders, see how that goes, move to tickets if necessary, and then if we still feel like we need more, we can revisit the idea of having more supervisory staff. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds good.
Good. I think the discussion went really well. I know there was some disagreements, but my role as a team lead is to just let everybody get their, their voice be heard, and then make sure that we get everybody on the same page. So when we are rolling it out to the faculty, we all are on the same page, or it's not going to work.
As the team completed this task, the next step would involve determining when to introduce this to the school, allowing for further discussion and giving all a voice. Once there is school-wide agreement, the focus would turn to the creation of strategies to ensure that all agreed-upon practices are actually implemented as intended.
I'm a counselor, so I want to make sure that I get my point across, because with that background, I come with a lot of different ideas, and they may not be the same ideas as a team member. So I want to make sure I get my point across as that role.
Clearly, prevention and data tasks are interrelated as one informs the other. As the year goes by, school-wide behavior data is regularly consulted to determine the degree to which Tier 1 strategies are effective. The MTSS behavior team must discuss two things. First, they must evaluate the impact on their goals. Teams typically develop 1 to 3 school-wide behavior goals. Maybe they want to see referrals from the cafeteria decrease, have fewer incidents of fighting, or see more students remaining in the classroom during instruction. In any case, they pull the data they need to answer these evaluative questions.
So at the beginning of the year, we were hoping for a 50% reduction in incidences in the cafeteria. We implemented some school-wide expectations, and upon looking, we didn't think that we had met our goal. However, after we used data, we found out that we actually had done more than that. So learned that it is really important for us to measure the interventions using data and then going back and revisit that, because like I said, we met our goal even though it didn't look like it as we did our walkthroughs.
Second, the team looks broadly across the data to see if there are any new trends or abnormalities of which they need to be aware. This involves discussions regarding the types of misbehavior, locations, times, or groups of students that have suddenly become apparent.
So when we were looking at school-wide data and we were taking a deeper dive, one thing we noticed is we saw a really big increase in behaviors coming into December. And so we noticed that we haven't even really taught rules about snowballs, and we were having students that were having behaviors centered around that. And that really taught us that we can't go in and teach this in December. We need to start teaching about snowballs in November, because that's where we're going to get really a bang for our buck, is that if the students are already prepared with the rules and understanding before we look at it in December and try to teach students after the behaviors have already occurred.
Let's hear the team talking through their data and making some decisions regarding adaptations to their Tier 1 plans.
Okay, so we did our cafeteria walkthroughs, and I do have some positive news to share. The noise level has really gone down.
That's awesome.
That is good.
And I do see staff, trying to remind students of the expectations in the cafeteria, but it's not really in a friendly manner.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I had seen staff saying, throw out the trash and reminding them of stuff, but I don't think it was necessarily that friendly tone that we're really looking for, that really makes students change their behavior.
Have we had conversation with those supervising in the cafeteria to find out if they felt adequately equipped with doing that in that manner or the way that we want them to?
I think that would probably be a good idea, is talk to them, and they might need some booster trainings. I'm not sure that we really train them on how to.
Exactly. More of like that positive
Positive,
feedback,
behavior-specific
corrective.
praise,
Exactly.
And I agree with you. I noticed that we were very reactionary. We were given those prompts like after we saw some students engaging in problem behavior. Maybe we need to remind them of what prompts look like and how we give that behavior specific praise so they know what they should be doing instead of getting those reminders after they engaged in behavior?
So that's the thought for planning for next year, because, you know, we're later in the year, behaviors have been going on, we're now trying to pick up the pieces, adults might be tired. So thinking about, as we roll this out next year, what we want to have in place for our adults, to have them prepared again, to be proactive in setting the tone from day one.
You know, I'm happy to offer to do the booster training for the cafeteria. Since I've been here a long time, I feel like I have good relationships with them, and it would come from a good place.
That's a good idea.
I like that.
And I wonder if from that training, we develop kind of a fidelity checklist. So everybody's looking for the same thing, you know, with the students, because you know them, but maybe others don't.
So you mean like when we do our walkthroughs?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I think the important part of that is also, you know, letting the cafeteria staff know this is what we're looking for, and this is how you can be successful.
I
And
agree.
probably having the conversation when we do the walkthrough, that we're not necessarily evaluating, we're trying to gather data to make sure that we are supporting best that we can.
Exactly.
Well, and if you do that, that will make the reward system have more fidelity as well, because then they'll be looking for the same things from all of the kids rather than just praising the ones who they always know are going to be doing the right things.
Yes.
So that will really help out.
I agree.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna do the training, and then in about 3 weeks, we'll do walkthroughs again and see how the behavior-specific praise and
Reminders.
the
are going.
reminders are going in the cafeteria.
I think that
Sounds
sounds
good.
good.
Sounds like a good, and then we'll meet and talk about our data again.
Okay.
I like it.
The step we've not yet addressed is consistency, the degree to which we as a school are doing the things we said we'd do. The question the team might ask itself is, are we really doing MTSS for behavior, or are we going through the planning without ever really changing our own behavior with students? Clearly, if there has been no meaningful change in the way we do business, we would not expect there to be any change in student behavior. The team is responsible for evaluating fidelity across tiers. At Tier 1, many of the questions asked will be reflective for the team. Did we develop a set of expected behaviors? Were plans made to teach those behaviors to students? Do we look at data to make decisions? And do we have screening procedures in place? Other questions will be more evaluative of the school as a whole, with questions about how well the school has implemented the plans. Do students report receiving positive feedback from adults? Are expectations posted in all areas of the school? And do all adults collect and submit data on behavior? In JCPS, the Tiered Fidelity Inventory, or TFI, is used to assess fidelity of MTSS for behavior. Teams complete the TFI in collaboration with their district MTSS behavior resource teacher, discussing the items and results. In addition, those resource teachers work with teams to consider their self-assessment survey, or SAS data. Watch as this team talks through their fidelity data.
Okay, so today we're going to take a look at our TFI, our Tiered Fidelity Inventory. And some good news, our school-wide, it seems like our school-wide expectations are in place. That scored pretty high.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. According to the TFI, what is our area of need?
Well, if you take a look at a 1.5 problem behavior definitions, teachers aren't really feeling like consequences are there and that the problem behaviors are not clearly defined.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we could have like a sit-down conversation with specific teachers of how we can maybe improve this.
Well, I wonder what they think is missing as well. So it's talking about, you know, having a flow chart. I know we have one of those established.
Yes, we do. But maybe do all teachers have a copy of it? Do all teachers know how to read the flow chart? Do they, you know, really truly understand it?
Okay.
I also wonder, is it specific teachers or is it school-wide?
It's school-wide.
Okay.
Yeah. Based on the data, it's school-wide.
So, and maybe there's not clarity. This talks about office-managed behaviors versus classroom-managed. So maybe it's not
We might just need to
clear.
revisit it because, you know, we really hit it hard at the beginning of the year on those opening days. So it might be something that we just want to revisit.
Okay.
And also looking at the student handbook and the staff handbook, going back to those.
Yeah, and one time we did a training a couple years ago where we had certain situations and staff had to sort out if that was considered a classroom or office. So that may be a good activity so they can actually examine the flow chart and then really sort out the cards. And then we can have a conversation, you know, about that.
And we can even take like the referrals that have happened this year.
That's exactly right. And then
so
say,
it's real
that idea.
that's been
I
happening.
think that's a fantastic idea because so often we get so caught up with everything that's going on in the classroom, especially after these past 2 years, that we forget what I can handle within my classroom versus what someone else should handle. So I really like that idea.
Yes.
So this is my thought with all of that. What is our response, or are we going to prepare one if a student comes and says, okay, well, you've done this 15 times in my classroom, so I've handled it 15 times in my classroom. At what point does it become office managed? Are we going to make sure that we have, something to address that if we have teacher feedback in that way?
Yes, I think it becomes office managed when it's a repetitive behavior and you've put set interventions in place that haven't really helped with the situation. And so I think making that clear definition that,
And maybe revisiting the interventions that we suggested, or those that are possible.
which are all on that flow chart, all the interventions, so. Yeah, and then digging down and digging deeper into the problem. Why is the student continuing to do that? Is it a relationship with the teacher? Is something else deeper going on? And then having those conversations so that we can figure out how we can stop it.
I agree. We just need to clearly define those two, classroom versus office.
Yes.
And who should intervene and what do those look like?
Well, and also looking at, there are a lot of interventions the district has. It's not just what it used to be. It doesn't just have to be office. And so helping teachers also realize that there could also be other people that can help out.
Exactly.
This again is another place I feel like for us as a team to look at and make plans, so that maybe rolling it out once a year is not a good idea, that we need to better implement when we need to review it with teachers so that it's fresh. I know, we review things with students after breaks.
Yep, I was
so
just thinking
maybe
that.
just a thought for reminding and refreshing with teachers as well.
After any long break, right? So we're reminding students of expectations, so I like that idea.
I do too.
To summarize, Tier 1 is where most school-wide behavior teams spend most of their time. Once students are identified through screeners or other data, further assessment and intervention are typically provided by secondary behavior teams.